All right. Hi, everybody. Uh, this lecture is all about digital image processing and examples. In previous lecture, we have already discussed about digital image processing. What do we mean by digital image processing? The digital image is subjected to a system where some operation is performed and you get a different types of output. That is called as digital image processing. And it has a number of components. We had discussed few components in previous lecture. Now we will continue with some more components, and then we will also discuss few important examples of digital image processing. So you can look at this slide that these are the major components of any digital image processing. It begins with problem domain. Problem domain means you have to capture an image for certain application, for certain purpose, certain task. So that is your problem domain. It may be a remotely sensed image. It may be any object. It may be any other image. So that's the problem domain. Then you acquire the image through image acquisition system. It goes to enhancement. In the previous lecture, we have discussed image enhancement is used to improve the quality of the image, to remove the noise if any noise is there, and to pre-process the image so that image becomes more suitable for a specific application. Then it goes to image restoration. It does not go, these are the different components. And we have also studied that image restoration is similar to image enhancement. In addition to image enhancement, in image restoration, we analyze, we do the modeling and characterization of the noise which is added in the signal. Then we have also discussed about morphological operation or morphological processing, which is very, very important step or process in fingerprint or forensic applications, where if we are interested in minute details, thin lines, and which we want to get it more accurately, more clearly, then that is needed. The next stage is segmentation. Next stage is segmentation. Segmentation, as its name suggests, we will segment some part of an image. We will highlight some particular portion of an image. Segmentation allows us to select certain area, to select certain portion of the whole image. That is segmentation. It has numerous applications. For example, if we are interested to study a agricultural image, to assess the damage of crop, if there is any crop damage, we want to assess. So we will capture remotely sensed images from certain areas, certain regions, and then we will again focus on certain, specific crop plantation where we are interested to assess the damage. And then in that, again, we will segment some particular portion where we can see the grains and how those grains, the crops, the products are affected by the different, the unwanted things, unwanted effects. And there is a damage, maybe heavy rain on insects, whatever. So how much damage is there? That is one example. Suppose we are interested to highlight or detect the tumor inside brain or lung cancer or any other cancer. So we will capture, the image acquisition will capture the complete lung area, the chest of the lung, the chest image, similarly brain MRI. But in the entire MRI or the lung chest, the cancer will not be there. Cancer will be there in very small area. So what is process? We have to select certain region of interest where there is likelihood, where there is some possibility of having cancerous element. Then we'll segment the very suspected region where we think or where we believe that this is the area on the basis of computing algorithm. This is the area which is affected by the cancer. So that is a process called as segmentation. Segmentation, as its name suggests, it is used to segment certain area from your image. It does not mean that a single component means a small thing. Segmentation is a broad topic. There are hundreds of different segmentation methods which are used in different applications based on the type of image, based on the type of application, based on different parameters. The segmentation methods are used in different tasks or applications. Then comes object recognition. Object recognition. Sometimes we call it as biometrics also. When you are identifying something, when you are recognizing something, some object is being recognized, whether car is moving, whether an object is moving, whether the truck is moving, whether person is moving, how many persons are there. All this recognition task is object recognition. In every smartphone, we have a biometric system that also identifies us. So object may not be always non-living, it may be living object also. So the process, so the component which is used to recognize, which is used to identify certain object based on the characteristics of an object, the characteristics of the image. What are those characteristics? Will be discussed in detail in the object recognition when we discuss this topic separately. But what we are interested to know here is to just have an idea what the object recognition is. Object recognition is a method in which the different objects can be recognized. If you are interested to recognize my face, you will be interested to know maybe the distance between the two eyes, the distance between nose and the head, that is forehead, what are the intensity values, grayscale values, the mean of grayscale values, and many more. What is the total area or periphery of the image which is covered by my face. All these are the parameters which will be taken into account while recognizing or differentiating, rather distinguishing my image from a number of images which are present in the database. So that is called as object recognition. This is most important component, because when we talk about the modern applications, like robots are used in industrial applications. Robots can perform a number of tasks in manufacturing, in industrial metal detection and all that. So how they are doing? Because in robotics, the object recognition, the image recognition is an essential part. And then see, driverless car. We are talking about driverless car. A car moves on the road, riding on the road hundreds of miles without any assistance of driver. How it is possible? Because the driver recognizes, the driverless car recognizes where is the road going, which direction it is turning, where is the crowd, where are other objects or the vehicles moving, which side there are trees, which side there are ponds or water, something like that. So everything, the system present in the driverless car, the self-driving car, recognizes. So what is the system there? It has hundreds of sensors, and through those sensors it captures the data and recognizes the object and accordingly moves on the road. Then comes representation and description. You can see here few structures. Generally, the objects which are stored inside the computer, objects, that is images, are stored in digital image processing for classification, for segmentation, for recognition. In all those applications, generally the images are not used as images while recognizing, while classifying, or while identifying. So what happens? Say one example, let us take one example, biometrics. In the smartphone, when we buy a smartphone, we put our fingerprint and we record something. Sometimes we record our face also. Sometimes we can record our audio also. So what does it do? Does it record the entire image? Does it record the entire fingerprint? In the beginning it records, but finally in the database it captures and it restores the equivalent representations of those signals, those images. Sometimes the final representations are called as templates. So these are some, the representations and descriptions. We can say boundaries, the periphery, and based on these, it will construct some templates, and those templates will be stored inside the system. So this is the area called as representation and description. Next one is image compression. This on the center there is one page. You can see that there are images .png, and the images are compressed their original size, and after compression the size becomes less, so it's not visible properly. But image compression is not a difficult task, but an important component. Why? Image compression is a method or technique which is used to compress the image. Why there is need to compress? Because when we use large dimension, large size of images in our different operations and applications of image processing, then the storage requirement, the speed of system or processing will hamper. Storage requirement will increase, but the speed will become low, affected. It will become, the system will become slow. Why? Because each input is an image and the image dimension is large. So when it is handled, when it is processed, some operations are performed, all those operations will be performed over the entire dimension. So therefore time taken will be more. And in order to address these problems, we use image compression methods. Image compression methods are of two types, lossless and lossy. In lossless, some content may be lost, but in lossless, there will not be any loss of any information, whereas in lossy, some content may be lost. Some content we may lose, but not that much. Still the image has to remain meaningful. It must carry the major content. Otherwise, there will not be any use of that image. So image compression is a method which is used to address the problem of dimensionality, high dimensionality, so that it can reduce the size, the dimension of the image, and because of that, the storage requirement becomes less and the processing speed is improved. I mean, which would have been reduced, which would have been slow, it becomes faster if we compress the images. And of course, when we are sending some email, sending some document, sending a number of images over email, we use zip file, WinRAR. What are these? These are the methods by which we compress. And while receiving those files, we have to again decompress. So compression requires decompression as well. Finally, there is a component called as color image processing. Color image processing. What is color image processing? You can see the picture, it is very clear. See the first picture and see the second picture. So in color image processing, color images are studied, and we can also create color images in different color format, color domain. If you compare these two images shown in the figure, that is slide, you will find that in the second image, there are some different colors which are highlighting specific regions. And this is very useful, especially in medical field. When you are interested to detect some abnormalities present in the medical images, the different modalities of medical image, then assigning different colors to different portions of an image, it gives you better visibility, better visual appearance, better clarity in detection and identifying the tumor which is present inside, or any kind of abnormality which is present inside the medical image. So this is what is called as color image processing. So if we can see the entire diagram, it includes all major components of digital image processing. It begins with image acquisition, where we acquire the image. It goes to enhancement, where we pre-process, reduce the effect of noise, denoise the image, and then image restoration also used to help modeling of noise and improve the quality of the image. Then morphological processing are used to produce dilation and thinning effect for various applications like forensic science. Segmentation is a component which is used to segment, which is used to extract, which is used to partition the entire image into smaller portions which are of our interest in our specific application. Object recognition. Object recognition is the component of image processing in which certain objects are recognized on the basis of characteristics or parameters or properties of those objects. The object may be living object, the object may be non-living object. So it includes biometric, it includes face recognition, it includes iris matching, it includes fingerprint matching. All these are part of object recognition. Then representation and description, the major component which is used to store the templates or the boundaries or representation of images which are actually required in matching, classification, identification, and segmentation kind of applications in image processing. Then image compression. Image compression is a component which is used to reduce the dimension of image, the size of image, so that the storage, the burden on storage requirement can be reduced, can be lessened. And number two, the processing speed, which otherwise would have been hampered, would have been slow, would be addressed. It means the processing speed will also become good when the images which are subjected to image processing are compressed before actually when they are subjected to the a kind of image processing method. Then the last component is color image processing, where the images are studied, images are analyzed, images are manipulated, are processed, all in different color formats and in color domain. And the idea is to get better visual appearance. The idea is to get better clarity in order to find clarity in the applications like remote sensing, medical imaging, medical image diagnosis. These are the areas where color image processing is is actually used. So this was the discussion on image processing, digital image processing, and its component. So as we began this lecture, that we wanted to cover some remaining components of digital image processing, and then we would discuss few examples where we can understand how image processing is utilized there. So let us see here biometrics. You can see there are a number of pictures like fingerprint, iris, this is voice, this is entire palm, this is a signature, and this is a person's own face. So there are a number of biometrics, bio plus metrics. So biological features, the biological characteristics are taken into consideration and the matching is done. The person's identity is authenticated. The person is recognized on the basis of either fingerprint matching or iris matching or speaker identification, voice matching, or signature pattern matching, or entire palm pattern matching, or on the basis of our own faces. So these are different biometrics. All these biometrics have their own pros and cons. Face itself, if you include, it is not going to be robust. If you capture my face and the amount of light, the pose, the illumination, they are not proper, then it is likely that the faces are not properly recognized. Signature, it has a specific pattern. You can use that statistics. You can calculate some metrics, Q-nays, mean value, and there are different metrics used for signature pattern. And on those statistics. Each signature will have uniqueness, and based on that, you can identify, you can recognize the signature. But of course, if you use only iris, only face, only fingerprint, they are called as unimodal biometrics. Why unimodal? The modality, the type of image is only one. Although it is considered that iris has highest, largest uniqueness, the research suggests, the research studies, the findings suggest that uniqueness of iris is 1 over 10 to the power 15. Means out of 10 to the power 15, there will be one person where you can find a similar, the same iris. That much uniqueness. 10 to the power 14, 15 is not the population of the world now. So there's so much of, see, God has created, how much uniqueness has been created. In every person, the iris is unique. And therefore, iris is considered as very, very good, very authenticated means of biometrics. Of course, it has its own challenges and limitations. Capturing iris is not an easy task. It requires expertise. It requires specific equipment. So we are not going to discuss much details about all these applications. But what we want to say here, that biometric is an emerging area of digital image processing, where what actually happens, the images are read, the images are captured, then we extract the features, we extract some characteristics, those characteristics are represented in certain manner, those characteristics are represented in certain manner, and that representation, sometimes we call it as template. Those templates are stored in the database. Next time when you want to recognize a person, same process repeats, and wherever template matching happens, takes place, that person gets authenticated, the person gets recognized. There is difference between identification and recognition, but this is not the agenda of this lecture. When we'll discuss biometrics in detail, then we'll talk about what is difference between, that is, identification and recognition. Probably here it is. And in the second slide, you can see here, this is verification and identification. Verification this side, identification this side. Identification means you just identify whether one to one matching is there or one to n matching is there. 1 to n means you verify that this person is authenticated person. But in identification, you have to also identify 1 to 1 matching. You can also tell that this is our authenticated user whose name is this, whose name is so and so. So it has the different branches, that is biometrics, verification, identification. But ultimately what happens, that there is a matching of characteristics, there is matching of properties which takes place, and based on that, the person is recognized. As I told you, that the unimodal biometric includes only one image or one modality, but if we go for more number of images, for example, we involve same person, we involve fingerprint, all 10 fingers, the palms, face, iris, everything. Suppose 3-4 modalities we include. For the same person, for every person we are capturing all those things. The possibility of getting failure in recognizing will be extremely low, negligible. The person will be accurately recognized when you include more and more number of modalities. So multimodal biometric is always better than the unimodal biometric. Of course, in your multimodal biometric, the processing time, the storage capacity requirement, that will, and there are other requirements which will arise, will be there. But as far as recognition is concerned, as far as authentication is concerned, the accuracy is concerned, that will be better in multimodal as compared to unimodal. I mean, this is one example where how the fingerprint is matched. I wanted you to know that what are these thin lines, and there are some points chosen, and on those points, matching up those points, matching is taking place. So you can see here valley, V-like structure, ridges. These are called as ridges and valleys in the fingerprint. So in these ridges and valleys are finally stored in the database called as minutiae. So minutiae are stored inside the template database, and matching minutiae, we recognize the fingerprint. I mean, we recognize a person on the basis of his or her fingerprint. Target recognition. You can clearly understand this will be used in defense or military applications where there are two opponents from other side. You know, where is our target? Where is the opponent's missile or opponent's vehicle? The armed vehicle is coming. Can we target those? Can we detect those vehicles which are coming towards us, which are hiding? So in military and defense applications, not only military and defense, but the example shown here is highlighting about military and defense applications. So a target can be recognized. The target may be anything like this vehicle. The target may be, you know, an object which you want to highlight and others you want to suppress. The target may be an image inside the moon. The target may be an image inside the Mars. The target may be anything which you want to recognize. So that is one application. This will also utilize the properties or the methodology of biometrics. Next one is aerial imaging. You look at here, satellite imaging. The satellites are helping us to capture the images, to take the aerial images. And if you look at these aerial images, you can see that these are the vehicles, these are the buildings, offices are there, garden is there, roads are there. So these type of imaging is very, very important for surveillance, for navigation. Imagine we use a smartphone, we hire a taxi, we choose a destination, and the taxi takes us to that destination. How well, you know, navigation helps you to reach to the destination, because your navigator helps you. Where is the object? Where is the office? Where is the road? Which road is more optimum? Which path is more optimum? Accordingly, that optimal path finding is also suggested. So navigation, surveillance. You want to, you know, have some surveillance application of certain area. What are the things there? You want to have surveillance about vehicles, surveillance about intruders, surveillance about terrorists, surveillance about cars, surveillance about animals, surveillance about violent animals. Whatever you want to have surveillance, you can have that surveillance system with the help of aerial imaging. Again, you know, the pattern matching, the object recognition will be always the sole part of these application as well. Next is autonomous vehicles. A vehicle is driving automatically. As I told you, this may be used for land, underwater, space. You have a space mission where you just send one robot, right? And that robot is launched, sent to the mission, a device, and it is just navigating and driving by its own. And you can control from here, from your ground, and you can just navigate. So autonomous vehicles, driverless car. That is the best example of current, you know, today's autonomous vehicle. A driverless car takes you to the destination where you choose. No driver, nothing, you know, no, you know, the driver will not get irritated due to the crowd, due to the rain, due to the poor condition of road. This will all be, you know, managed, handled, manipulated, and taken appropriate decisions by the driverless car using artificial intelligence, sensor technology, and machine learning. So when we talk about machine learning, artificial intelligence, sensor technology, means through sensors, the autonomous vehicles will capture the data, will capture the images of surroundings and the ways, and based on identifying, recognizing those objects, it will take appropriate decision, which direction it has to move, at what speed it has to move, and then it will have its autonomous driving. So this is one interesting application area where the autonomous vehicles use the concept of image processing. Next one is traffic monitoring. You look at both the pictures. Traffic monitoring, autonomous toll system, automatic toll system, automatic pole system, sorry, automatic, what I can say, parking system. The vehicle will come and will just get parked automatically. Autonomous guiding, autonomous driving, traffic monitoring. How much is the traffic there? How much is the crowd there? Which road has more traffic? So if you remember, if you use your navigator, so your navigator, your GPS also suggests you that which path is optimum, where is more crowd on the basis of this type of monitoring. It captures the data, it captures the aerial images, it captures aerial images through satellite and suggests you if you want to reach to certain place, which road is optimal path, which road will provide you the optimal path where you can save time, which where the traffic is less. So you can count the vehicles, you can recognize their number plates that for security purpose, for authentication purpose, some theft cases, some terrorism cases, you want to identify which are the vehicles, who are the persons traveling in the vehicles, how many vehicles are there, which type of vehicles are there. So all these monitoring, traffic assessment, traffic monitoring, all these are possible with the help of image processing. Face detection. The number of persons are there in a scene, in a picture. You can, if you are only interested to detect the faces only, you are not interested to detect other objects, then it is possible. Look at here, 1, 2, 3 in the first scene, in the second also 1, 2, and 3. So this is how, if there is a huge crowd and you are interested to identify a particular person, to concentrate in detecting the faces, and then after capturing and detecting all faces, again use some machine learning or image processing method to identify that these faces are of whose, that is, who are the persons that these faces are representing, like that. So this is one application. Next one is facial expression recognition. A lot of work is going on in this direction. You want to recognize the expression, you want to recognize emotion of one person. A person is sad, a person is happy. Even the people are working, researching about what the person is thinking. That's a neuroscience and cognitive assessment area. We have not included here. But facial expression means how is the mood? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you thinking mode? Are you angry? Are you upset? Are you anxious? All these status, your expressions can also be recognized with the help of image processing. You read an image, then compare with that when a person is happy, how the facial movement changes, how the eyes appear when you are sad, when you are happy, when you are crying, when you are excited, all these conditions. So you can also recognize the facial expression. Gesture recognition. Gesture means it's very important for human computer interface. What is your gesture? Are you walking? Are you talking? What are you doing? What are your activities? What gesture? How do you use your gestures? How do you use your hand movements while talking, while speaking, while communicating? So that's one area. Hand gesture, body language, all these are identified. Remember, gesture recognition, body language recognition, human body language recognition, human gesture language recognition. These are very, very important biometrics for those who are disabled by that, what I can say, deaf and dumb, those who cannot hear, those who cannot see. For them, these gestures are very important. So there are tools which are coming, there are products which are coming, and with the help of those products, those people, vision impaired and the listening impaired, those persons can also communicate to the world, communicate to society. So image processing helps them in a great way. Sign language. Sign language, you use the sign to represent a number, to represent an alphabet, so that those people who do not read, those who do not those who cannot see, those who cannot hear, they can just, those who cannot hear, they can understand. Those who cannot read, they can understand, because they are required to see at least. So this is one area which is called as gesture recognition. Next one is human activity recognition. What are the human activities in different scenes? There is a scene, the scene may be crime scene. There may be 100 different types of scenes where what the human being or doing, what activities they are engaged in. So that thing can also be recognized. And in medical imaging, the application of the image processing is very important, especially in modern time, in modern healthcare sector. Look at the two diagrams. First one is skin cancer, second one is breast cancer. In medical imaging, the image processing plays important and most crucial role. The radiologists and physicians, they screen these images. There are technologies like mammography, like ultrasonography, like radiography, MRI, and these technologies are used to capture the images of various parts of the body. But due to large volume of data, less viewing time, and the human can get tired also, and because of that, and they have some limited accuracy of their human visual, that capability is limited. So they will apply that much capability of their human eye, and they will interpret where is the tumor, is there any tumor or not. So in many cases, the radiologists and physicians, without assistance of machine learning and image processing methods and methodologies, they may miss certain area which is actually cancer, which is actually affected by cancer, tumor, or any kind of abnormality. So that area is called as medical imaging. A lot of things, right? You can analyze your pancreas, you can analyze your lung images, chest images, your brain images, what kind of abnormalities are there in brain images. Is there any tumor? Is there any, something which is abnormal? Is there present inside the image? All these can be analyzed, can be segmented, and accordingly, the appropriate diagnosis can also be suggested to the patient. So this is, in this era, we call it as computer aided diagnosis. In medical imaging, there is a term, medical imaging and image processing, computer aided diagnosis, CAD and image processing, CAD based diagnosis. So the diagnosis will be augmented, the diagnosis result will be augmented, the performance will become better with the help of computer aided method called as computer aided diagnosis. Then morphs can be created. You can create a morph of some person, and see the last image looking like monkey, but is actually morph of this person. So for secret communication, for encryption, you can use that. You are transmitting actually the image of this person, but you have created a morph. You have encrypted in a way so no one can identify and can know that this is the person or this is the image which has been transmitted or communicated, being sent by a sender. So this is how the morphs can be used for unconstructive purpose, constructive applications. Both have both the sides. All these applications have both the sides, that is positive as well as negative. So what is more important is the role of image processing. The role of image processing is very, very important in all these applications. You talk about any application of modern time, any application, almost all the modern engineering science applications, they are using some sort of image processing. You wear a smart watch, right? You wear smart glasses, you have a smartphone, you have a smart laptop, you have a smart camera, right? So if you want to control, if you want to have a smart environment system, you want to control environmental parameters of your city, you want to make your city a smart city, what is the most important technology behind that is image processing. You can deploy a number of sensors, capture the data, analyze the data, what is the pollution level, what is humidity level, and accordingly, the measures, the corrective measures can be taken, and those parameters, those environmental attributes can be controlled, and the city can become smart city, smart traffic management system. So anything is smart healthcare, remote healthcare, telemedicine, telehealthcare, right? Doctors cannot reach, suppose doctors are not able to reach to the rural areas, but if you can deploy this type of system where the telemedicine system has a smart device there that can assist capturing the data, and from a big city or big hospital, the doctors or physicians can assist those people and can provide their health services and the appropriate diagnosis. So the applications of digital image processing, the examples of image processing, unlimited. If we count the, or if we are interested to, write the number of examples of image processing, the list is unlimited. Every new or emerging application is using some sort of image processing. So in this lecture, let's sum up now. What we have done is we have tried to sum up, we have tried to study some more components of image processing, because in previous lecture, we had a discussion of some components, but in this lecture, again, we discussed those, we summed up those components, and the remaining components were again explained. The major components include image acquisition, image enhancement, image restoration, morphological operation, image segmentation, image compression, color image processing, representation, and these are the major image processing components. And these components are very useful in different applications of image processing for different purposes. Then we discussed some examples where the image processing is of important application, that is of huge importance the image processing has in these applications and examples that we discuss. So in image processing, image modality may be anything. It is processed appropriately and based on the processing result, because we know that in image processing there are three levels. Your output may be image, your output may be attributes, your output may be some decision making and understanding, and accordingly we call them low level, middle level, and high level image processing respectively. And all these three levels of image processing are used in different specific applications of image processing. So for this lecture, that's all for today.